Hey everyone, you're listening to the Simple Electronics podcast. I'm your host, Simple Electronics, and with me I have a very special guest today, Jonny Bergdahl. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I'm on my vacation, so I'm better than normal.
Awesome. Usually I know a lot about my guests, and I ask them to introduce themselves so that the listeners get a little bit of a taste of them. But in this case, I don't know that much about you, so you can introduce yourself to me and the listeners.
Yeah, that's might be a little strange. I do have a YouTube channel, but I never actually made any decent attempts to do any YouTube videos. But I still got 56k subscribers with 7 million views, so there you go. I'm calling myself a maker, trying to mess with electronic stuff on my free time as well. So that's that.
What aspect of electronics most interests you?
I think it's more the software side of it to make dumb boards do smart stuff. But I think it's my background as a software developer shines through.
Do you have any examples of like particularly dumb boards that you've made do particularly smart things?
It's more like making systems out of it. I've been playing around a lot with the Home Assistant and solving small problems, like when I realized that I always forgot to shut off my soldering station. I made a board with a PIR sensor and hooked it up to a D1 Mini and made a 3D printing enclosure. And this took like 2 weeks to make, just to make sure that it shuts off. I could have bought a power plug with a built-in PIR sensor instead, but yeah.
But that's half the fun, though, is making something custom to your own needs.
Certainly.
So how did that go? Basically, as soon as the PIR detects your presence, it allows the iron to be on, and then whenever it times out, it just turns it off?
It works by sending MQTT messages to Home Assistant that in turn controls some on-off switches to turn on or off.
Okay.
So I have to be in the room and be detected. Then it's allowed to be on. And if I leave the room, it shuts everything off after 15 minutes.
I've heard quite a few people work with those MQTT messages. Can you give us a little rundown about how that works, how MQTT works?
Yeah, MQTT is a protocol that is used in IoT devices. It's basically a TCP connection with a protocol that is standardized. And part of the protocol says that you publish messages to a topic. And in the other end, several other devices and computers can listen to a specific topic. And in the message payload, you send the actual data that you then can inspect in, for instance, Home Assistant. Home Assistant has a plugin for MQTT, and they use JSON format for the payload, so it's easy to parse.
Where would you rank that as in terms of project-wise? Would you say that's sort of like beginner can get that done, or is it more of an intermediate or kind of expert?
If you are using something already made like Home Assistant, it should be quite easy to get, for instance, in D1 Mini to talk to it. But if you don't have the other side of it that's intended to react to it, it would be a bit more involved, I think.
Because then you'd have to program your own Home Assistant type software then, right?
Yeah. And also Home Assistant has a plugin called Node-RED where you can graphically make workflows. And that can also be connected to the MQTT server and React. It's an easy way to set up more complex rules. What would happen, because you can take several inputs and do quite complex workflows with that one instead.
Yeah, another maker is actually telling me that I should be using Node-RED for a lot more of my projects, but I still haven't even dipped my toes in it yet. So I need to get on that at some point.
Yeah, it's a battle to get started with it. But when you get suddenly the coin drops down and you now I get it, then it's much easier.
How's life in Sweden these days? Is everything back to normal or not quite?
Yeah, they left. They lifted the last of the heavy components of the COVID stuff. We have over 50% vaccinated already, so it's looking. I shouldn't say good, because the Delta variant is very close in Europe. We don't have it here yet, but we know it's coming. So basically, it's almost back to normal. The nightclubs are not open, but everything else in principle.
Is that affecting your day-to-day life that the nightclubs aren't open?
Well, I used to visit those places, so I miss them.
I guess I'm just so antisocial that really there's not much difference to me whether we're locked down or not. The only like good thing I could say is that all my teaching this semester just started last week is now in class. So we're still using masks and keeping apart, but at least now we're back in the school. And especially when I'm teaching things like computer skills to tradespeople, doing it online is near impossible. So I'm happy about that. But other than that, like I don't like people, so I stay away from them.
Yeah. I had a colleague that got COVID and he nearly died, so I went into self-isolation, voluntary, for I think it was 6 months. But now I'm fully vaccinated, so now I'm trying to get back to normal.
But you do software for a living, so I guess it was a little bit easier for you to self-isolate, right?
Yeah, it was very easy. I have the office in my home as well. So
What kind of computer system you're using for work? Do you have some sort of Baller Ryzen system, or are you still an Intel purist?
I use a Mac Pro from 2013.
Oh no. That's like the least interesting option you could have picked.
I do have a Windows server where I run virtual machines. So my daily work involves developing Microsoft software. So I do that in virtual machines instead.
Yeah, probably better to have some sort of sandbox that you could revert if anything goes wrong, huh?
Yeah, it was a real pain, say 10 years ago when I had a lot of different customers, and every setup needed some kind of driver for, like you need this driver because that customer has Oracle version 6, and then the other customer had Oracle version 8, and I couldn't install the software in the same machine, so I had to uninstall and install when I switched between the customers. That was a real pain.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely terrible.
Then I started making virtual machines. I could install exactly the correct software and just turn that machine off when I'm not using it. So that got very much easier.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I don't do anything nearly that demanding, but even like keeping like Arduino boards and libraries installed and sometimes doing version control for different projects, that's a pain enough. I can't imagine having to deal with different drivers that aren't compatible with each other.
Yeah, Arduino is quite painful when you have to switch between projects that need the driver or the library's version, like when the JSON library changed. So you pull up your code that worked the last time, but you have installed a new version of the library, and now you can't even compile your old code. That's
Yeah,
really painful. But
that
that's
is painful.
yeah, that's something that they taking care about in the other environments you can run.
Yeah, it's just I'm at the point where I try to avoid updating as much as I can until I'm completely done a project and moved on to the next one, and then I'll force the updates before I start the next one, because or else it just becomes like terrible. And I think I'm starting now too to add the library versions in the comments of my code, because or else I'm not going to know what worked. Like, how do I know?
Yeah. I had this problem when I got Dustin Watt's free touch deck that that needed exact versions of specific things, and also he had made changes to some libraries himself, so you had to download it from his GitHub repository instead. So that way, it takes some time to set it up before you can compile it.
Yeah, I actually designed a board for Dustin Watt's free touch deck because I didn't have the same ESP32 as he did. But the only reason that I've been like so dragging my feet on the project, because first of all, I messed up the first set of boards, so I had to order another set, and that kind of set me back. But now I don't remember how I installed everything, so I have to go back around, like wipe the ESP and start from scratch, or else I won't be able to show people what I've done. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the butt, but at the very least, he developed a really cool project.
Yeah, I bought his board Touchdown. So I actually have the first working board that he sold. So he made he made a point of it and marked it number 2. So the first one is screwed up, so he couldn't sell it.
That's awesome. I love I really love his channel. I think it's extremely underrated, but I think soon enough people will catch on and his numbers will grow as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to support makers of all kinds. I'm I'm a Patreon and GitHub supporter, and yeah, and so on for several different makers.
Can you name a couple that are particularly cool?
Yeah, Unexpected Maker is always fun to follow.
Yeah,
Uh,
Sion's
ma-
awesome.
Maybe a little too much rants, but that works for me. I do support Fusel, who's making the Octoprint software, for instance, since I do a lot of 3D printing as well. I have 2 3D printers with Octoprint running, so I'm a monthly. I think she uses Patreon, and I also support Brian Locke on GitHub. That was an interesting one where GitHub started this. They added, they doubled the amount. So if you paid an amount every month, GitHub doubled it for the first year, I think it was.
Yeah, that's really good. And he actually he now says like don't bother supporting me or whatever, because that deal is over now, but his video still says that deal is up. So he wants to clarify that people shouldn't feel obliged to support him, but I think he deserves it. So there's that.
Yeah, I support Bitlooney, and he says the same thing. So. But Brian Locke is working on a YouTube live stream API now, so that's interesting for me since, yeah, I'm more or less known as the guy who is in all live streams.
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, we wanted to talk about that. So what do you get out of live streams? What do you like about live streams? Because yeah, you are in nearly all of them.
Yeah, this started out more or less when I started self-isolation. So it was a way for me to get some social outlet. But then it became something else. I quite enjoy it.
Yeah, and you get attention too, because all the streamers they see you over and over in their streams, so they literally mention you by name in the live streams all the time.
Yeah. I'm also a moderator everywhere, so
Yeah,
not
I
sure
gave you
why.
mod as well. I don't know. So let's talk a little bit of let's talk politics then. Which live streamer is your favorite? How about that?
Favorite, I must be a bit loony, but that's because he's doing his very long and yeah, his live streams are crazy. He's not afraid of making mistakes. Like when he was making a PCB on his CNC, and after 2 hours we realized it was mirrored. he was routing the wrong side of the board, so it would never work.
Oh yeah, I think I was there too. That was a pretty good moment. But I think that stream was only about 6 or 7 hours, but he's done like ones that were close to 10 recently. It's crazy.
Yeah, he just sits down and does his thing for like a full day, a full work day. And we are there to watch him. It's crazy.
Yeah, because recently I tuned into his live stream, and then the wife and I went for a walk around the neighborhood, came back, he was still streaming. Then I had to go to work. I went to work, I came back, and he was still streaming. It was ridiculous. Yeah, and if anyone's wondering, it's BitLooney has a separate channel for live streams. I'll put the link in the description below. You guys can check it out, and you'll probably see Jonny there too.
Probably.
Yeah, very likely. So,
but BitLooney is streaming on his other channel, so it's not his video channel.
Yeah, BitLooney's trash, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always wondered if a second channel is necessary for live streams. I think at this point I'm not big enough to warrant a second channel, but I think what he's doing is he's trying to shield the people that like the high quality, highly produced videos from the live streams. But I mean, I think he should embrace it personally.
Yeah, Sion is Unexpected Maker is doing everything on his single channel, but he was talking about splitting it up as well, because his channel stopped growing, and he's suspecting that it's because he does a live stream every week, so and he hasn't had any time to do any real normal videos. So when people go to his channel, they see, oh, it's a live stream channel, I'm not interested, and then they leave.
Yeah, that is entirely possible. But at the same time, I mean, his live streams are pretty entertaining as well. So, I mean, and, you know, from what I've heard of a lot of YouTubers, a lot of people's channels have slowed down or stopped growing in the last couple of months. I think it's because lockdowns are ending and people have less free time, maybe. Who knows?
Might very well be. My channel is totally dead. So I'm going backwards. I had 57k subs before the summer. I don't have that anymore. I'm down to 56.6. And also, I only get like a couple of thousand views a month now. Before I had like 100,000, 200,000. So it's a big difference. The algorithm has left me, divorced me.
It's time to make new videos, time to take time lapses of your 3D prints or something.
Yeah, those time lapse I put out was just a test to see if I could make the algorithm wake up, but it didn't work. Could just as well bring them down again. They're not very good.
So tell us about your channel then. What possessed you to take a video of? I think your highest one is about a board mill CNC. What possessed you to take a video of that and put it online?
It's actually not a CNC or a mill. It's actually a printer. So it prints with silver ink on breadboard material. But it was actually a Kickstarter So I was the first one in Europe that had one of those machines. So I thought, well, I could make a video of it and publish it so people could see it working. So I think I was one of the first people that actually published a YouTube video about it. But I uploaded it to YouTube and no one was watching it because I had no subscribers. But then a couple of months later, the Electro magazine in Europe, they have websites in several different languages, like English, French, and Dutch, and German. And they picked up the machine itself, and they used my video as an illustration. And then I got, I think I got 100,000 views for one day, and I was like, oh my God, what's happening? But then it all went down to nearly zero per day. But then suddenly the YouTube algorithm picked it up and connected it to some other videos that got popular. So it went viral, and I was waiting to get 1 million views before I activated monetization. But when I got to 1 million, I clicked the button and asked YouTube, "Yeah, give me the money." And they took so much time, so I actually had 3 million views before the monetization started. So that was kind of odd. They were changing the rules about monetization at the same time. So something strange happened there. But I actually got all my money back from purchasing the Volterra machine from YouTube.
Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
I say these days when I do a mailbag video and it's 5 items, if I got an item under $2 USD, that mailbag video paid for 1 item. So that's just to let you guys know how little ad revenue when you don't get very many views. It's not a lot.
It's very, very little. And my views were mainly coming from Asia, and the payment for ads in Asia is much less than in the US, for instance. So it's a big difference.
Absolutely.
It's like 4 times as much money in the US. I have some videos where I show off my CNC mill. Not that many views, but the amount I get for ads for that that's 5 times as much as the other video per 1,000 views.
Do you actually use the PCB mill very often, or is the cheaper, like, ordering PCBs so much better now?
Yeah, it's very much better. I have an order now at JLC, and I hope it comes before the week is done. And the cost is so much less. The silver ink for the Volterra is very expensive, so it's much cheaper if you can wait for a few days to get it from JLC PCB or PCB way or something.
Yeah, I would tend to agree on that one because I mean, I have dreams of etching and milling my own boards, but at the same time, it's going to be just for fun. Practically speaking, it's way easier to upload a board to PCBWay or JLC and have it shipped here. Because even the first boards I made, they were through JLC. They were not sponsored at all, and it was like, I think it was like $20 or something for the 10 boards and the shipping. So it was cheap.
Yeah, it's crazy cheap. So
yeah, and Canadian dollars are not worth anything. So I mean, they might as well have been fake money for all they're concerned.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. We have Swedish crowns here. That works for me.
Yeah, I think that's worth a bit less than Canadian dollars even.
Right.
Swedish krona to CAD.
I have no idea how much Canadian money is worth.
Yeah, so 1 Swedish krona is 15 Canadian cents.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, everything's different because I think the cost of living is a bit higher in Sweden than it is in Canada, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I remember when I was young, it was very easy because 10 krona was $5 or 15 pounds. That was the difference between the US and the UK. That difference is much, much less now.
Oh, yeah. I've actually recently learned about a Swedish tradition. Do you practice fika?
Yeah.
So can you explain to the listeners what fika is?
Yeah, fika is when you go visit someone and you sit and have a cup of coffee and cookies, and then you speak about the world and all your problems. It's basically it. It's a social thing.
What's your favorite fika snack?
It's mostly work. I only do fika with the co-workers. So.
Oh, I see. Is there something that you prefer to eat during fika, or is it more chatting?
I like puffy things with sugar on, like donuts.
Nice. Yeah, well, as a Canadian, we know donuts. We have a whole Canadian franchise about it, which is no longer owned by Canadians, but doesn't matter. We're donut people here.
Yeah, we have cinnamon buns and stuff as well, and cookies.
Are you a tea or a coffee guy?
I'm a coffee guy.
Yeah, me too. Any specific type?
No, not really. Not too strong.
Gotcha.
That's the only thing.
And during a little bit of a pre-conversation we had, you said you were a car guy, and I think the listeners know by now that I'm a car guy. So, what do you got?
Nowadays, I have more expensive cars than in my youth, but I actually had 14 Beetles when I was younger. Now I have a winter car and a summer car, and the summer car is a 2011 Ford Mustang, the 5-liter V8 engine, 420 horsepower. And the winter car is an Audi S6 with a 4.2 liters V8 engine and 4-wheel drive. And that's a really nice car. But that's a very old car on the other hand. It's not expensive.
Which one's faster in a straight line, the Mustang or the Audi?
Yeah, the Mustang. But the Audi has a higher top speed.
Oh, yeah. And I don't think I would drive the Mustang anywhere higher than 100 kilometers an hour. They're a little bit scary.
Well, I actually drove it on Anderstorp's Raceway. It's an old Formula 1 track in Sweden. That was exciting. It also was raining, so it was double exciting.
Exciting or terrifying? Because if that thing has a live rear axle, that would be terrifying.
Well, both, I would say.
So what would be your dream car today? Like, say if you could pick any car, just you don't have to pay for it, but it has to be something you're going to actually drive. What car would it be?
I would say the Mustang.
Really? You would just head down to your garage, hop in the Mustang and head out. That would be it.
Yes.
Fancy.
Yeah, I have a friend who has a Lamborghini or something. I'm not sure even what model it is. It's so super expensive to own. It's a fortune just for the insurance every year. So I don't see the point. It's also very troublesome to get out of the car when you're getting older.
Oh, for sure.
So I really like the Mustang because it's an ordinary car. It has a door. You open it and you just sit down, and then it's a convertible, so I can flip down the top if the sun is shining. So it's really nice.
We usually make fun of Fords here for not being reliable at all. Just so you know.
Yeah, I had a problem with it last summer. I couldn't get the top down. No, I couldn't get the top up. So I had to go to the shop and ask them, how can I get it up now that the electronics stopped working? It turns out you can't at all. There was no mechanical way of raising the top. as a reserve. So I had to leave the car in the shop, and they switched out a motor. It was actually nothing wrong with the top or the motor for the top. It was a problem with a sensor for the rear window. And they switched out the motor. Then it turned out they had to switch out the other motor as well, because the controller was in the other side, or I'm not really sure, but it took them 5 weeks to fix. It was COVID times, and there were no spare parts in Europe at all, so I had to order it from the US, and shipments from US was not fun at that time at all. There was almost no planes flying, etc.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was really shocked to see that there was no way to get the top up if the engine, if the motor wasn't cooperating. So it was very odd.
So, in a funny turn of events, I actually drive a Volvo on my daily drive. So, it feels like our roles are reversed, because I'm from North America and driving a Swedish car. You're from Sweden driving a North American car. It's kind of bizarre, huh?
Yeah. Also, I never ever owned a Volvo, but I used to say that I was made in a Volvo. So that's another thing.
I think right now my reasonably priced sports car of choice would probably be something like the V70R, because I drive a V70, like just like one model above the base model. But I think the R line would be a great car to pick up. And I was very impressed on how inexpensive the parts actually are, because here usually European cars cost us a lot to fix, but not so with this Volvo. So yeah, V70R I think is my reasonably priced sports car at the moment.
Yeah, it's very much cheaper to have a Volvo here, because used parts are dirt cheap. So the youngsters we have here that are car people. I'm not sure you have something like this in Canada, but we call them raggers. They drive around and make sounds. They have like 200 watts audio systems, and just drive around to annoy people, I think. They come from small communities outside the city. Not sure if that's a Swedish thing or if other countries has that as well. But they all drive Volvos.
Huh. Like old Volvos or like newer Volvos? Like what year range are we talking about?
Say 15 to 20 years old.
Okay, yeah. So we have a similar community here, but we call them racers, and typically they just modify their vehicles in obnoxious ways, like put big rims, drop their cars all the way to the ground, and put big sound systems. And typically the cars are still pieces of garbage, but yeah, they make a lot of noise, and they're about 15, 20 years old, same deal.
Look, sounds exactly the same, especially the annoying part.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. And the best part is, like, when you're young, the insurance to drive a car is very expensive here. And when you keep like modifying your car so that the car is annoying, the police can easily identify you out of the crowd. So whenever you do something wrong, you're definitely going to get pulled over. So it's pretty funny. They're like advertising that they should be pulled over.
Yeah, it's the same thing here. But we actually changed the law here a couple of months ago to make it possible to fine them for being annoying.
Oh, really?
If they play too loud music, they can now be fined.
See, we have noise ordinances, but they're not specific to vehicles. You can still get fined if your car is too loud, but basically, you know, after 11 p.m., if you're making over a certain amount of decibels, you can be fined. So I guess people, you know, that's how they do that here.
I guess I would be fine when I pull out my Mustang then. The first thing I've done, I bought the Mustang when it had only been driven for 500 miles. And the first thing I done was to change the exhaust system. I wanted the sound.
You're one of those.
I might have gotten a little bit overboard with the sound, though.
Do you have kilometers per hour in your speedometer, or is it like a straight up? Is it an American import, or is it specifically built for Europe?
No, it was actually not possible to buy Mustang in Europe until I think it was 2016 or something like that. Before that, you had to import it from the US. But we have a law that says that you have to have kilometers per hour in the car. So
Okay.
there are speedometers that with the correct scales to buy. So I had to swap that out as well. I bought it off a shop that imports like 15 Mustangs every year. They go over to Florida and buy the fully equipped ones with the right price and bring back.
Okay, that makes sense.
This is my third Mustang I bought from them. So.
Really?
Yeah.
So here in Canada, we work in kilometers an hour, and then south of the border in the US, they use miles an hour. So typically, the Canadian speedometers will have kilometers per hour along the outside, and then on the inside, will have miles per hour. And the American cars will typically have the opposite. They'd have miles per hour on the outside and kilometers per hour on the inside, except for my Volvo. My Volvo only has kilometers per hour, so I assume it's the same speedometer they use in Europe then.
Yeah, surely. I think only one of my Mustangs had the dual one.
Oh, interesting. Otherwise, it was just swapped to kilometers.
When I got the car, they just went to the registration office and they got it cleared. And they had to tape small dots over the miles per hour, because that was the bigger digits. So only the inner digits were with the kilometers per hour was visible.
Oh, I see.
It was kind of stupid because you just remove the tape and then it's as you never did anything. So.
I have a friend from Sweden that I met through my wife. He's a friend of my wife because he's always in her stream. But he says regulation in Sweden has gone nuts. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know. Do you agree with that?
Regulation about what?
He says pretty much everything. All the rules are really strict.
No, I don't agree. Especially for cars, the regulations is much less than when I was young. You can customize cars in much better ways now than you could ever do when I was young. We had really hard rules back then.
Okay. Like I could basically, maybe a lot of the regulation he has to deal with is specific to his industry, but I don't want to dox him by saying which industry he works in. I think it's kind of private, but yeah, it's good to know that not all of Sweden is, a regulation nightmare. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I never seen anything in that direction, so maybe I'm the wrong person to express any opinion.
Are you saying you don't represent all of Sweden?
I represent all of Sweden.
Okay.
At least in live streams.
So how's the King of Sweden doing then, if you represent them all?
The King of Sweden is doing fine.
Yeah, with his he has dogs, doesn't he? Isn't he famous for having dogs or something?
Yeah.
Do you have any electronics projects that you're hoping to work on in the near future?
I am working on I made a little competition with myself to see if I could set up a lighting controller for Wi-Fi. So I designed a PCB now, but the objective was to only use stuff I already have in my stock. that made it quite a bit harder. So it's a 4-channel relay board that I intend to hook up to Home Assistant, and I was done yesterday. So I sent over the PCB files to JLC PCB. So I hope I will get them before Friday.
Nice. And then you're going to put them together and hope that revision 1 is the correct revision?
Exactly. And we all know that revision 3 is the correct revision.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'm building my 3D printer. I'm working on the large format 3D printer, and I think for the X rail, I'm up to revision 3 for the brackets, and I think revision 3 is the one. So I would agree with you. 3 revisions is probably what's best.
Yeah, I actually learned all the stuff when I was in my 20s, which is way back, and then I moved over to cars. I thought that was much more fun to work on cars for a while, and then more or less work took over, so I left that field as well. But now, about 5 years ago, I returned to electronics. I decided I needed a new hobby that works during winter as well. I do play golf, but in Sweden you can't play golf when you live where I live during the winter, because we have snow and stuff, and that doesn't work. So I was looking for a new hobby, and then I realized, I played around with electronics when I was young. I was quite advanced. I was etching my own boards and so on, and did analog stuff as well, which I wouldn't try analog stuff now, because it's really like unicorns and wizards in play. So I was started 5 years ago, and bought some Arduinos and started to fiddling around, and that was a nice relaxing hobby for me. But I am part owner of another corporation that did automation stuff for industrial use. And the other part owners came to me and said, "Hey Johnny, we have a very good idea. We will start doing IOL sensors and stuff. You know something about that, so we want you to make the boards for us." Yeah, there goes my hobby again.
Damn.
So then I had to start doing commercial stuff instead, and ruining my new fine relaxing hobby. So I did that for like 3 years, and then I told them, I don't want to do this anymore. So I took back my electronics hobby.
Well, that's good. At least you took it back. Some people would have just kept grinding at it until they became sick of it, and then that's it. You need a new hobby.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into that position, so I told them, here is a guy. It's actually a guy that I met in a live stream who happened to live in Sweden. So I had a meeting with him and saw what he was doing and what he has done before. So we actually hired him to do my job.
Nice.
So it pays off hanging out in live streams sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. And on top of that, you get to laugh along with BitLooney. So why not?
Yeah, certainly.
I find it strange that for the population that Sweden has, which is relatively low, I follow a lot of Swedish YouTubers, and I seem to bump into Swedish people online a lot. What is it with the internet and Swedish people? Are you guys just a internet savvy population? Is that how it works?
Yeah, we got internet very early compared to other countries. We had a guy here in Sweden that started up an internet company and started selling internet very cheap. So he set the price. It was like a fourth of the price previously, and he had a lot of money behind him. So he actually managed to more or less internetize Sweden. So internet got very, very cheap, so everyone could have it in Sweden very early on. And this is even now present, because we never had any caps on our internet usage for normal cabled internet in Sweden. That's only in mobile internet. And also we had another company that actually dig fiber cables all over Sweden until their money ran out and they had to sell the company. And that made fast internet possible, even if you didn't live inside the city. So it was interesting times.
I wish it was like that in Canada. Here we had Bell, a telecommunications company. They cashed a whole bunch of government grants to bring telephone service, like landline service, to all Canadians. And they came back once they burned all the money. They said, no more money. So, all the people we promised to give phone service to, we did like 10% of it. And then the government gave them another grant. And then the same thing. There's still Canadians today that don't have landline service. And it's the same thing with internet. They did the same thing. They cashed government checks to run fiber everywhere, and they ran fiber like to only about 10% of the places they promised to. It's absolutely insane. And our telecommunications prices are through the roof. I have 4 gigs of data on my cell phone, and I'm paying something like $92 a month Canadian on my cell phone plan, taxes included. It's ridiculous. It's insane here. I wish it was more like Sweden.
Yeah, I recently I recently got a new contract on my phone, and I think I pay like $50 or something, and I have 2 SIM cards with unlimited internet on, so I can use it in a computer and in my phone at the same time. It's a big difference.
Yeah, I'm extremely jealous. Even the Americans, they have monopolies down there too, or oligopolies, just like we have. But at least they have like Google Fi or whatever, Google Voice, that has like a really good deal, but it's only for Americans. Because here, there's a protectionist racket. The CRTC is a government organization that protects the big companies. It's terrible.
Yeah, here it's more the opposite. We have plenty of different internet service providers, and they're all competing with price. It works very, very well.
Well, before my blood boils, we need to move off telecommunications, but I do have a question that I ask every single one of my guests, and so I'll shoot it to you. So the setup is you have a government corporation or a government entity that gives you a grant to start your own business. It does not have to be profitable, but it does have to provide a service or a product. What kind of business do you start?
I think actually I would create some entity that makes it easy for makers to set up maker spaces locally in different places. Not sure how that would work, but the end goal being that younger people can be exposed to actually making things they sell themselves, and maybe learn how to fix broken things. I don't think any younger people today knows how to fix anything actually. It's just throw it away and buy something new instead. That really sucks.
It definitely sucks. And the thing is, there's nothing stopping anybody from opening like a repair shop where you can bring your stuff in to get fixed. But the only thing is the amount of labor you would have to charge in order to fix something, and that's what makes it cost prohibitive. Like electronics got so cheap in the last 10, 15 years, 20 years, that even if, a 5-cent capacitor would fix it, you still need to pay someone an hour to diagnose it, open up the case, solder a new capacitor, and close it all up. And around here, even like, let's say you get your car fixed, we charge it where I work is $145 an hour plus tax. So as long as your TV is worth less than, $100, $200 or whatever, it's not even worth fixing.
Oh, that's very true. But I have a friend that had a Wi-Fi access point, an expensive $200 Wi-Fi point, and he had a thunderstorm. So it didn't work anymore, so he went to buy a new one. But then he realized that the only thing that was actually broken was the power plug. So he wasted $200. But it turned out he doesn't even have a multimeter, so he couldn't even check if what part of it was broken. So
yeah, that should be a given. Like we should have some sort of high school class that teaches like the basics of fault finding. It doesn't have to be anything special. I mean, if you plug the power pack in and the little LEDs don't come on, try a different power pack. Like that should be something that everybody knows. And I'm not begrudging anybody for not knowing that. I'm saying the system failed if not everyone knows that.
Certainly. I found it amusing. I asked it, so you don't even have a multimeter? No, what is that? Okay. But he's at my age, so yeah. He has also he was working as a salesman for an embedded systems compiler company. So he really knows how to do anything in the embedded world. So I'm very surprised he didn't check that one.
Yeah, that is a bit strange, but I guess it's the way our brains work, right? I think makers in general are interested in the inner workings of things. So even if we don't know specifically, I think we'd have that curiosity to go look for it. And not everyone has that curiosity. I think that's one of the big deals with the makers. They're all pretty curious. I don't know if you'd agree.
Yeah, that has been one of my driving factors since I was young. I was always taking a screwdriver and pulling things apart to see how it works inside. I wasn't always as good as to actually make it work after my teardown, but I learned a lot.
Do you watch AVE at all?
I do not.
Okay, because he has this philosophy that when you take something apart, it needs to spend a couple of months on the healing bench before you put it back together.
That makes sense, actually.
Yeah. Look, usually around this time in the podcast, I would be plugging my guests, like channel and stuff. I mean, you guys should go subscribe to Jonny, but do you have anything specific you wanna plug in this episode?
Nah, just follow me on Twitter.
Oh, okay, and I'll put your handle right on the screen here. And other than that, like, how about telling the people which YouTubers they should go subscribe to then, if not just yours?
Well, you should definitely subscribe to Bitluni, but he only posts a video once a month, so it's not that much to see. And also Brian Locke is also not putting out any videos. Unexpected Maker is the same, so I think you should go watch Simple Electronics instead.
Yeah. Well, most people that are listening to this should at least be subscribed to me. But other than that, I guess I'll pick them up along the way.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for joining me and spending some of your precious vacation time making a podcast episode.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And you listeners out there, you should definitely pay attention to what Jonny is saying. You should go subscribe to Bitluni, Brian Locke, Unexpected Maker, and you should also subscribe to Jonny's channel so we can get him back up to what was it, 47K? What were you saying?
56.7K.
Yeah. Okay. We need to get back we get back up to 57K for sure.
Yeah, I want that 100K subs.
Yeah, that's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't that all YouTubers dream about?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, thanks everyone for listening, and we're going to catch you in the next episode.
Yeah, thank you.